Yo, what's going on, everybody? This is Dylan Talk Sports. My name is Dylan. In today's video, what we're going to be doing is, as we know, the preseason is now begun. Hall of Fame game has been done. We are now going into all the actual preseason games. 3 weeks until we have actual regular season football is back. And for those of you who don't know, I am a Browns fan, obviously. What we're going to be doing today is I'm going to be going over the Browns roster and kind of looking forward to seeing the roster and their schedule and kind of giving you guys my input on how I think the team is going to do this year. Now, I want to get one thing straight. I take biases seriously. I'm taking that out of the equation in this video because I know a lot of people are going to come on here and they're going to be like, oh, he said 12-5, 13-4, 14-3. He's biased. Of course he's going to say that. No. And the whole point of why I'm making this video is because of one man. And we will get into him a little bit into this video. So without further ado, let's get right into it. If you've been living under a rock and you are a Cleveland Browns fan, you might not have seen this video. I'll put it on screen now if you would like to watch.
But a win over the Steelers, a season sweep. I know it's very unusual, but a season sweep over the Steelers, a loss to the Denver Broncos, win over the Rams. I know that Jacksonville is going to be a tough team this year. I'm going to go loss here. Loss to the Chicago Bears as Justin Fields makes his way back to Ohio. And you got the Houston Texans. I got a couple of losses right here before closing it out with a win over the Cincinnati Bengals. I think the struggle continues. There is still a lot of uncertainty with the Cleveland Browns, and I think they're going to struggle. And I think it's just 6 wins in Cleveland this season.
Yeah. Adam Rank, you need a new job, bud. So basically, this man looked at the schedule. He went through and he said, Cleveland Browns, all these star players, Pro Bowlers, a little bit of all pro players. How will they do? 6-11. I don't know if that man has been whacked upside the head, conked his head on something, but he needs to go to a hospital. So going forward, we're going to go ahead and look over the depth chart, and this is the now depth chart at the time of recording this with all the 90 players still on the roster, and then we will get into the schedule and kind of give our input of what we think, will happen. So right here, you are going to be able to see all the offense, the defense, and the special teams. We're going to go ahead and start off here with the offense. We already know kind of who the main players are going to be that are going to be on the roster when week 1 comes around. Guys like Amari Cooper, Donovan Peoples-Jones, Elijah Moore. The offensive line, David Njoku, Deshaun Watson, Nick Chubb. Those guys are locks. Moving on to the defense, Myles Garrett, Dalvin Tomlinson. Big contracts, you can't cut those guys. Shelby Harris, that was a big signing that just happened a day ago. I love this signing. Hopefully he works out with us. Zadarius Smith, another big time player that we traded for. Hopefully he works out. JOK. Anthony Walker. Sione Takitaki. I love these linebackers. I see a lot of people talking about Sione Takitaki saying, is he a really good linebacker, or is he can he be a really good linebacker, or is he going to just be another rotational player? And I gotta say, I look at him and I say, he is probably maybe going into a year where he could be a top 10 run stopping linebacker. It's just the pass defense. He needs to figure it out. But then on the other hand, you have JOK, where I feel like he's an excellent pass defending linebacker. The run block or the run stuffing, he struggles a little bit in. Moving on to the corners, we got Denzel Ward. We got Greg Newsome. I feel like these two can be one of the best cornerback tandems in the league if they stay healthy. And then Martin Emerson Jr., we got him in the draft last year, and I don't know, man. There's something about me that just says it might be a one-year wonder, but I'm willing to wait and see. Maybe he shows flashes again this year, and maybe we got a steal. And then, as always, Juan Thornhill. I feel like he's going to be a very underrated safety going into this year. It's just going to depend on what he can do. Does he bring that championship mentality from the Chiefs over to our team? Hopefully helps out our defense. And then special teams, yeah, I don't really talk about special teams. Moving on, going back to the offense. When it comes to all the offensive linemen, backups wise, I feel like the only guys I'm looking here, and I would say we need to keep them at all costs, are Michael Dunn. I would say probably try to keep him because he's really good at just rotating between the guards either side. Drew Forbes is a kind of like a secondary guy towards if Dunn were to go down, Forbes is able to step in. Dwan Jones, I feel like we just got to steal with him, and I feel like Barry might be cooking up something spicy here. My plan is what I think is going to happen is I think Jack Conklin is going into the last year of his contract. I'm hoping Barry is probably thinking, Conklin, after this year, you're gone. Dwan Jones, you move in. And then all the other offensive linemen, it's kind of like they're just like depth pieces. Moving over to the receivers, like I said, Amari Cooper, Donovan Peoples-Jones, and Elijah Moore are pretty much, they're guaranteed their spots. Guys like Marquise Goodwin, I feel like he's probably guaranteed a spot. It's just he's got the injury, not a physical type injury, more of a medical injury, something that we're just not going to talk about. We're going to let him do his thing. I'm praying that he gets healthy. Jakeem Green, he's coming back. He had a torn Achilles last year, I believe. Hopefully he comes back, helps out with special teams a little bit, punt returns, kick returns, maybe a little bit of receiving. But I'm going to come straight on with this one. Anthony Schwartz, you got to go. I don't really know how to say it nicely, but you got to go, bud. There's been too many fumbles, too many dropped easy just pitching catches that he just drops. He's got butterfingers. And then the rest of these guys, I mean, I don't really, we kind of know most of these kind of guys that we're gonna fall in love with here through the preseason, but they're not gonna make the roster. Moving on to the defense, I feel like everyone that I listed here is all gonna make the roster. When it comes to the secondary guys, I feel like out of everybody here that's gonna people that are actually gonna make the roster, Ogbo will make the roster. Tony Fields will make the roster, obviously, and then Mike Ford maybe can make the roster. I've seen some flashes out of him. Ronnie McLeod, he'll make the roster. And then after that, the only other guys on here that are probably going to be all your rookies. After that, everybody else is fighting for a job. Now that we've taken all that into consideration, what do we have in this team? We have possibly top 10 receiving core. Possibly. Already guaranteed, I'm pretty sure. A top 5 offensive line, maybe top 3. David Njoku waits to be seen. I'd say right now, if you were to rank him within the tight ends of the league, you got to put him maybe 12, 11. You could try and get him in the top 10, but he's at least right up there around 12 and 11. Nick Chubb, I am going to argue this till I die. He is the best running back in the league. People talk about, oh, Christian McCaffrey, Josh Jacobs, Derrick Henry, because they do fantasy football. I don't give a shit about fantasy football when it comes to just being a pure running back. Moving over to the defense, when it comes to how this defense looks, on paper, they could be a top 10 defense. But in the way of how the new defensive coordinator, Jim Schwartz, is going to use this defense, he can elevate it to be a top 10 defense. Let me explain. Myles Garrett, Zadarius Smith, 26 sacks they combined for last year. That's going to add up. Dalvin Tomlinson, great run stopper. Shelby Harris, great run stopper. What the Browns suck at last year? Stopping the run. A linebacker core of, let's look at these guys' strengths. Pass blocking, run blocking, being a great mind, getting everybody in the place where they need to be. Check. And then let's look at the corners and the secondary in general. Lockdown corner, possibly another lockdown corner. A guy growing to be another great corner. And then we have 2 safeties in Juan Thornhill, who is going to be the leader of this defense, hopefully in the back end. And then Grant Delpit, who's Thornhill can take under his wing and teach him and make him into a great safety as well. I don't know about you, but that's a top 10 defense. And then let's look at Jim Schwartz's philosophy of what he likes to do. Take the front end guys, pass rush, feast on the offensive lineman, disrupt the game. Once they break the game up, the secondary can go man to man, our guys on your guys, let's see who's better. And it's just a free, no holds barred match out there on the field. If that doesn't scream Cleveland Browns football, I don't know what does. After that, the only other thing I think holding back the team is this guy right there, Cade York. What does he do in the Hall of Fame game the very second he gets on the field? Here's the post. Here's his foot. Up and to the right. Cade, I almost wonder, is he okay? Like, does he need a hug? Because sometimes I wonder if he goes out there and kicks it, and when he misses, he just goes and hides into a rock. But I digress. So, what do we have here? Possibly a top 10 defense if, I'm going to say a big if Deshaun Watson goes back to his 2020 self, when he had that amazing year with the Houston Texans, even though they went 4-12, this can be a top 5 offense. If he plays average, top 15, maybe top 10. Bare minimum is top 15. If he goes back to that old Deshaun, we are a top 5 offense. And then with everything I just explained for the defense, how can this defense not get at minimum top 10, top 11 defense? It makes me wonder, how did Adam look at this entire list, or this entire roster, the team, everything that's been going on in the offseason? He said, yeah, they're only going to win 6 games this year. Yeah, that sounds about right. Now, moving on to the schedule prediction. Now, I believe I already made one. If you are not following me on TikTok, I do have a TikTok. I believe I already made a record prediction over there. I think it was like 11-6, 12-5 at max, 10-7 at worst is what I believe I made. I'm gonna do another one here because obviously my opinion can change over the weeks and the months because that prediction was back in like April and May, I believe. Now we've had time to see how the teams are looking in the offseason, so I'm gonna do another one. Now I want to set the record straight. I can only predict these games based off of what I know at this point, meaning if there is a player that could be hurt, meaning in week 1, Joe Burrow, he might not play that game from what we're hearing with the calf strain. It kind of leads me to say they're going to be with their backup. So that's kind of how I'm going to be predicting these games. So moving on, week 1, we got Cincinnati. Obviously, I'm going to say the Cleveland Browns are going to win that game because if Joe Burrow ain't there, who's their backup? If Joe Burrow was there, I'd probably give Cincinnati that win. But since he's not there, the Browns have no excuse but to win that game. Moving on to week 2, we got Pittsburgh. This is going to be like the build-up game to see how is Cleveland looking. Are they a real threat in the league? I'm going to say it's sad, but I feel like they take a loss. 1-1. Week 2, Tennessee. They are going to be below average to bottom feeder type team this year. I'm sorry, Tennessee. Cleveland, you're going to win that game. 2-1. Next up, you got Baltimore. You're 2-1 so far. Let's make it 3-1. Next up, we got San Francisco. I feel like they're going to lose this game. San Francisco, they're that type of team to where if Cleveland hasn't fixed their run game yet, San Francisco's just going to move the ball all over them. 3-2. At Indianapolis. I feel like Indianapolis, they're in a rebuild. Cleveland should go 4-2. Going to Seattle. That game might be a loss, so 4-3. Arizona. They're dog shit. 5-3. Going to Baltimore. I feel like you take a loss there. 5-4. Back home with Pittsburgh. You got to win that game. 6-4. Then you go to Denver. I feel like that's a game towards like you can win that game. Let's go 7-4. Los Angeles, I don't know what they are yet. 8-4. Going home with Jacksonville. That's where you're gonna get kind of stumped. 8-5. Got Chicago coming into town. 9-5. You can win that game, even though Justin Fields looks a little bit better. I feel like you can still win that game. 9-5. Then you go back to Houston. We go 10-5. Then you got the game that's gonna be probably playoff implications with New York. That's where you win that game, and you go 11-5, and then obviously Cincinnati. Hopefully you've clinched the playoffs by then, and you can just go ahead and say, screw it, starters, get out of the game, backup, you're in, and you eventually go 11-6. But other than that, that's really all I got to say in this video. Like I said, the Browns are destined to go to the playoffs this year, at the least. Am I expecting them to win a Super Bowl? No, not at all. Am I expecting them to make the playoffs? Fuck yes. But what are my realistic expectations for this team? Go to the playoffs, win another playoff game. I'd try and get to the AFC title game. That is where this team needs to be. They need to be competing to go to the AFC title game. Like realistically, the teams that in the league right now that they need to go to the AFC title game, Chiefs, Bills, Bengals, Browns can be up there. I don't know if the Jaguars really need to be in there just yet. And maybe you can throw in Chargers. But like I said, the Browns, they need to be competing for an AFC title game. But other than that, that's really all I got to say for this video. If you enjoyed today's video, make sure you drop a like. It'd be very much appreciated if you did so. And if you like the content that you're seeing here on the channel, if you are a Cleveland Browns fan like myself, or any other Ohio sports, or just like sports in general, and you want to just chill here, listen to the videos about different types of sports topics, you guys can always subscribe and make sure you hit the notification bell so you're notified the second I post a new video. And if there's anything specific you guys want me to post here, anything you want me to talk about or discuss, let me know. Drop a comment down below. I'd be more than welcome to talk about anything you guys want me to talk about. And without further ado, this has been Dylan Talk Sports. Have a great rest of your day. Peace.